you decided to build a new streaming PC in 2025. Oof, ouch, hey, I feel you. Hey, next round's on me. The CPU market right now, it's a dumpster fire. The latest Intel CPUs are worse than their previous generation CPUs. And that's saying something because the previous generation CPUs are literally just melting themselves. All of the AMD X3D CPUs are either sold out or they're more expensive than a beer at a major sporting event. But we do have the new 9000 series CPUs, which aren't terrible, but they're not great either. They still just can't match the productivity power of an Intel CPU. And the GPU market? What GPU market? NVIDIA's new 50 series cards are being scalped into absolute oblivion. The 40 series cards are just out of production. They don't exist anymore. So instead of going down in price, they're actually going up in price. AMD's GPUs are still just AMD GPUs. They're great for gaming, but they're just not nearly as good for streaming as the NVIDIA GPUs. And that's, again, if you can find some. There's so many NVIDIA GPUs that are out of stock that everybody's resorting to buying AMD GPUs. And let's not even talk about tariffs. Honestly, for the most part, I just don't understand how they work. But either way, they're not good for GPUs for gamers. So what do you do in this kind of situation? Do you just give up at this point? Do you give up your dream of streaming and creating content? Or do you finally just sell a kidney and buy a 50 series card? No, there is hope. Today, I just wanted to sit back, relax, have a real conversation about what you can actually do to get a streaming PC that actually works right now. What you can actually do in this absolute clown show of a PC hardware market that we've got going on right now. So cheers to AI companies, Bitcoin miners, and every other problem under the sun that is making it that much harder to build a streaming computer right now. We just want to play our games. Cheers. So I've got 6 potential solutions for you coming right up. The first one is the simplest one and the one that you've probably already thought of: buying a computer used. A lot of people don't really like to do this because they would just rather buy from a reputable company, have a warranty, and be able to get assistance and customer service if they need it. When you're buying something used, you don't always have that luxury. What this does mean, though, is if you do find something used, you can typically find it a lot less expensive than brand new at a retail store. So you are going to be saving a little bit of money that way. And the way that I see it, at least for me, is a way to flex my troubleshooting muscles. If for some reason the thing that you buy either doesn't work or is a little bit funky, it's doing these weird things, or it goes out in 6 months, it gives you an opportunity to see if you can figure out why. I use this as a skill every day for my actual 9-to-5 job, and it's something that has slipped into my gaming world. And honestly, I really love buying used products, but I know not everybody wants to deal with that headache. I get it. But if that's your only option, you can always look at that silver lining of being able to investigate, figure out, troubleshoot, and do things for yourself. The internet is your friend, and I promise if you are having this issue, somebody else has probably already had this issue before you, and it's documented somewhere on the internet. You just have to find it and be able to push the right buttons. Now, obviously, some things aren't fixable by a normal person. They are not fixable sometimes at all, or they require more money to fix. I get it, but that's kind of the gamble of paying less for something and having something right now versus maybe waiting for something in the future. Here's a couple of quick things to keep in mind. I usually stick to the Facebook Marketplace, eBay, or another trusted site like jawa.gg. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Please do your research. Make sure that pricing is at least competitive for what you're trying to buy, and go and watch some videos about proper online sales etiquette and what to look out for so you don't get scammed. All right, so solution number 2 to not being able to build something new right now is just don't upgrade. And this obviously only works for people that already have a system and they were looking to upgrade, they were looking to build something new. If you already have a system, you might not need to upgrade. There's a handful of things that you can do to make sure that your computer is running at tip-top shape, to make sure that you're getting the best experience possible, and you might just have to stream at a little bit lower bit rate for a little while until prices get a little bit better in the market. Some of the easy things that you can do to make your current computer run better are just simply clean it. Physically clean the computer. Open it up, make sure that there's no dust, make sure that it's not full of dog or cat hair, and make sure that it's running as efficiently as possible. Do things like repaste the thermal paste on the CPU. Another tube of thermal paste can be less than $10, and if that's old and it's heating your system up and your CPU is getting hotter than it needs to be, repasting your CPU could be a really quick fix to getting it to running a little bit more efficiently. You should also be looking at optimizing your software, making sure that you're not running or have installed applications and games and things that you don't need running all the time. Honestly, if you haven't reformatted your computer in a couple of years, it's probably a good idea to do so. I usually reformat my computer at least once a year just to completely clear it off, start from scratch, and make sure that everything is running as optimally as possible. And then there's always the games that you're playing. Make sure that you just turn the settings down a little bit. Again, instead of spending thousands of dollars for a new graphics card right now that's not worth that much money, maybe just turn the settings down a little bit. You don't have to stream in 4K just yet. Play at 1080p 60 frames per second for a little bit longer and wait for the market to normalize again. Nobody is tuning into your Valorant stream for the 4K ultra settings, ray traced shadows. Just turn down some settings. All right, solution number 3 here is actually finding an alternative way to game. And I know that this one might not make sense if you have a gaming PC to not game on your PC. But hear me out. There are lots of ways that you can game. PlayStation and Xbox both have direct from console to your stream capabilities, as well as it's easy enough to plug any console, anything with an HDMI port into a capture card and be able to play your games on the console. So it's not having to use the graphics power that is in your aging computer. There are also options like cloud gaming. So you can do straight on your PC. Things like NVIDIA GeForce Now and Xbox Cloud Gaming are at least decent. They can get the job done, and you can play whatever game you want while using very, very minimal resources on your streaming computer. Cloud gaming isn't perfect, but neither is paying over $1,000 for a 5070 Ti. Just don't do it. If you absolutely have to build something now, build with the idea of upgrading once the marketplace normalizes. Get the new parts that you want. Things like the case, the motherboard, the hard drive, all of your fans. Those are things that are normalized in the market right now. Get all of those things and then find a used GTX 1660 Super on the marketplace and use that for right now. And once the GPU marketplace normalizes a little bit, then you can look to upgrade down the line. There are also options for CPUs that have built-in graphics, so you don't necessarily need a graphics card. I probably wouldn't recommend them normally for things like streaming, but I actually did an entire video on streaming and creating content from my Asus ROG Ally. So if you want to check out that video, it is possible to stream and game from systems with a little bit less power or systems that have dedicated graphics on the CPU. All right, solution number 5 is go the alternative route. Not NVIDIA, not AMD, but go for Intel. Intel, the newest Battlemage Intel GPUs have been really, really promising. My daughter actually runs an Intel Arc A770 in her computer, and I just bought a B580 for my wife. And both of those cards have been running so well, I can't even explain how excited I am about those. If you can find a B580 for that $259 or a little bit less than $300, they are really, really solid options for those prices, and they're only going to get better. You can't find other graphics cards from NVIDIA or AMD with that kind of power and that kind of VRAM for that kind of price right now. And I know that those B580s have been selling out like crazy as well, but my guess is the stock for those are going to come in more often than NVIDIA or AMD's cards are going to. We also know that through firmware updates, through driver updates, those cards are only going to get better over time. I would definitely recommend a B580 over almost anything else under $700, $800 right now. All right, and if you absolutely have to buy an NVIDIA or AMD GPU new, right, as soon as possible, solution number 6 here is just be smart about it. Don't buy the first crazy overpriced graphics card from a scalper that you find. Make sure that you use things like PC Part Picker, Newegg, and Amazon to make sure that you track prices. Make sure that you're paying as close to MSRP as possible. Make sure that you use stock trackers and try to buy new from major retailers and not resellers. Avoid scalpers at all costs. The more that we buy from scalpers, the more that scalpers are going to keep scalping. You wouldn't pay thousands of dollars for a JPEG of a monkey, so don't do it for an overpriced mid-tier graphics card either. So there you have it. The PC hardware marketplace is still kind of a mess right now, but there are some options that we do have right now. If you have any other tips for finding some of the best hardware right now, make sure you drop them down in the comments. I would love to rant about the hardware marketplace right now down there in the comments. Otherwise, I appreciate you being here for watching this video. Good luck out there. I'm gonna go see if that old GTX 970 I have laying around somewhere still works. Somewhere around here. YouTube says that you might like this one right over here, so we'll see you over there.